Okay, let's break that down. And who better to do this with than former Vice President Mike Pence, founder of Advancing American Freedom, who just visited Israel a couple of months ago. He's been there many times and spoken to the prime minister and the leadership there many times as well. Mr. Vice President, good to have you with us. Thank you very much for joining us today. So what, you've seen this whole back and forth, right? Senator Schumer suggested that it was time for there to be new leadership in Israel. He's kind of stepped that back a little bit after that fiery floor speech. Here's what he said today, or yesterday, I guess, on this. The U.S. cannot dictate the outcome of an election. That is for the Israeli public to decide. As for democracy, Israel has the right to choose its own leaders. And he goes on there. But that was after he got a lot of pushback from McConnell and others. But President Biden just said it was a good speech.
Martha, I started the year visiting a kibbutz in southern Israel that was struck on October 7th by Hamas, and the worst attack on the Jewish people since the Holocaust. And there should be only one message coming from the United States of America today, and that is America stands with Israel. Israel is in a fight for its very survival. And the idea that the Democrat majority leader in the United States Senate would take to the floor of that storied chamber and start to dictate what the leadership of our most cherished ally Israel should be is a disgrace. And frankly, I'm almost as offended by the fact that President Biden called it a good speech. I mean, there's this whole doctrine that America should speak with one voice, and that, of course, is always the voice of the president of the United States. And for President Biden not to pull back on what Chuck Schumer said is astonishing. It is an example, ironically, of a Democrat leader in America trying to engage in election interference in Israel. And the people of Israel, I can tell you, having been there, Martha, are completely united behind the goal and the objective of destroying Hamas, and the United States of America should send no other message than we are with you all the way until Hamas is destroyed once and for all.
Well, it's interesting that, you look at some of the polls and the impact and what we've seen on social media and we've seen in some of the primary elections in Michigan in particular, which has a large Arab population.
Right.
And no doubt these polls are not lost on President Biden. Among 18 to 34-year-olds in Michigan, he is 11 points lower than former President Trump and 25 points lower than Governor Whitmer, who is popular in Michigan. Do you think that election politics are bending Biden's will, President Biden's will on this?
It's hard to imagine any other motivation here than some concern about the elections and their own coalition in the Democratic Party. But I'm telling you, this is war, Martha. I mean, literally, I walked through houses that the walls were riddled with bullet holes, and there was a blood-stained furniture. I heard stories of the most horrific torture and massacre of men, women, and children. And what Israel is doing today, we should support. I mean, imagine if some Western nation, several months after 9/11, had called for a change of leadership at the White House here in our country. Number one, we wouldn't have listened to them. And number two, we would have been deeply offended by it. So I'm glad to hear Senator Schumer has walked back his statement a bit, but I want to see President Biden walk it back as well and make it clear that if the world knows nothing else, the world should know this. America stands with Israel.
Let me ask you this. We have not spoken since former President Trump sewed up the nomination, which he did earlier this week. Mm-hmm. And he has received endorsements from some of the people who were running against him. But we have not heard from you. Will you be endorsing your former president? You were on the ticket with him last time around.
Well, Martha, I appreciate the question. And it should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year. But look, I'm incredibly proud of the record of our administration. It was a conservative record that made America more prosperous, more secure, and saw conservatives appointed to our course in a more peaceful world. But that being said, during my presidential campaign, I made it clear that there were profound differences between me and President Trump on a range of issues, and not just our difference on my constitutional duties that I exercised on January the 6th. I mean, as I have watched his candidacy unfold, I've seen him walking away from our commitment to confronting the national debt. I've seen him starting to shy away from a commitment to the sanctity of human life. And this last week, his reversal on getting tough on China and supporting our administration's effort to force a sale of ByteDance TikTok.
Why do you think he did that? Why do you think he had that reversal on that before we go, sir?
Well, I can't speculate on it. But what I can tell you is that in each of these cases, Donald Trump is pursuing and articulating an agenda that is at odds with the conservative agenda that we governed on during our 4 years. And that's why I cannot, in good conscience, endorse Donald Trump in this campaign. But let me say one last thing. That being said, look, Republican primary voters have made it clear, Martha, who they're for in this election. What I'm going to spend the rest of this year on is talking about what we should be for, and that is the broad mainstream conservative agenda that's defined our party and always made America strong and prosperous and free.
Well, understood. I got 2 seconds, but who are you going to vote for in November?
Well, like most Americans, I'm going to keep my vote to myself. But
would you vote for President Biden?
I would never vote for Joe Biden. But how I vote when that curtain closes is that'll be for me. But
are you looking for a third party emerging?
No, look. What I can tell you is that where I'm going to spend my energies is on making sure that my fellow Republicans, independents, and many Democrats around the country know that it is a commitment to limited government and the Constitution, a commitment to a strong defense and American leadership in the world, a commitment to traditional values that's always made this country prosperous and free. And I'm going to advocate for that.
You're not going to run as a third-party candidate of any kind, are you, sir? Or are you?
I'm a Republican, Martha.
All right. Vice President Pence, thank you very much. Always good to talk to you, sir. We'll see you soon.
You too.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.